everyone, Miss B. Hanley here, and today we are back to talk about points of view. So narrative points of view, or points of view in literature, refer to three different types: first person, second person, and third person. Point of view, or the viewpoint, is the perspective in which a story is written, or the perspective in which the reader is seeing or being told the story. Let's start with first person point of view. First person point of view is pretty common in literature. You can tell that it's first person because it uses first person pronouns like I, me, and my. And it's told from a character's perspective as if they're the narrator telling you the story. First person point of view can also be considered first person peripheral. First person peripheral means that it's still being told by a character using I, me, and my, but the character who is narrating or telling the story may not necessarily be the main character. A great example of first person point of view would be Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or any diary for that matter, because you're reading the diary of the main character, and they are telling the story as if they're writing their diary.
A famous example of first-person peripheral would be The Great Gatsby, because you're seeing the story from a side character's perspective and not Gatsby himself.
Let's go into second person point of view. Second person point of view is not as common in literature as first or third person point of view. In fact, you see most second person point of view in manuals or in directions. That's because it uses second person pronouns like you, your, and yours. You can find second person point of view in literature though, in choose your own adventure books. There are a wide variety of choose your own adventure books written by different people. My personal fave are the Goosebump choose your own adventure books. But either way, you are the central character in those stories, and you are making decisions on the plot based on what page you turn to.
Other examples of second-person perspective would be self-help books, because the author is writing to you, the reader, and giving you directive on how to live a better life. These would be considered second-person perspective books.
Third-person point of view is probably the most common point of view in literature. Third-person point of view uses third-person pronouns and is telling the story from a narrator's perspective who is not involved in the story. So they use third-person pronouns like they, them, he, him, she, her, and the narrator is telling the story to the reader as if they are watching the stories themselves. Let's start with third-person objective. You're still using third-person pronouns, they, them, he, him, she, her, but the narrator doesn't know the thoughts or feelings of all of the characters, but only knows the actions. And so the narrator is simply telling the actions of the characters in the story.
The best example I could find of this type of point of view would be Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway, because the story is told as if the narrator were looking at the scene as if from another cabin on the train or a, quote, fly on the wall. Another example is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. The narrator doesn't go into too much detail about the character's thoughts, but only describes their expressions.
Third-person omniscient uses the third-person pronouns, they, them, he, him, she, her, but the third-person omniscient narrator knows all of the thoughts, feelings, and actions of all of the characters for the entire story. A perfect example of third-person omniscient narrator is in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The narrator knows all of the characters' thoughts and feelings and actions and can tell you facts about all of the characters and side characters throughout the novel. Third-person limited, once again, uses the third-person pronouns, but the narrator knows all thoughts, feelings, and actions, not of all of the characters, but just one character. A perfect example of third-person limited would be Harry Potter. Harry Potter is told from the perspective of a narrator as if they are watching Harry's story and telling it to us. However, the narrator doesn't give us any insight into the thoughts and feelings of the different characters around Harry Potter. Only Harry's perspective is what we see. Last, you can have third person multiple. You're still using the third person pronouns for each of the perspectives, and the narrator knows all the thoughts and feelings and actions of the characters, but only one character's perspective is given at a time. And the level of insight between the characters isn't shared. So when the perspective may shift from one character to another, the narrator's knowledge doesn't shift from one character to another with it. It's only focused on the character that it's talking about at the time.
One of my favorite examples of the third person multiple perspective would be the Arc of a Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. Throughout the series, the perspective shifts between the different characters, but is still told from the third person perspective.
That's it for points of view. You can have multiple points of view within a single story, but usually a narrator will stick with one point of view throughout the entire thing. I hope this helped you better understand different points of view, and I will see you in class. Bye!